Ever wonder how one company completely flipped the script on an industry that has been around for centuries? Today, we're diving into the incredible story of how Airbnb disrupted the entire hotel world. It's a classic David versus Goliath tale, but with a tech twist. So picture this. Before Airbnb, what were your options when traveling? Hotels, motels, maybe a bed and breakfast. These were established, reliable choices, but they often came with a hefty price tag. You'd get a standardized room, a mini fridge, and maybe a continental breakfast. It was predictable, but sometimes a little boring. The experience was often impersonal, and the cost could eat up a huge chunk of your travel budget. For decades, this was just how things were. The hotel industry was a well-oiled machine, dominated by massive chains with buildings in every major city. Then, in 2007, a big design conference was coming to town, and all the hotels were booked solid. They had an idea. What if they put a few air mattresses on their living room floor and rented them out to conference attendees? They called it Airbed and Breakfast. They created a simple website, and soon enough, they had 3 guests. It wasn't just about making rent money. They realized they had stumbled upon something much bigger. People were not just looking for a place to sleep. They were craving genuine connection and a more authentic local experience. This was the spark. Airbnb wasn't just offering a bed. It was offering a peek into a local's life. Instead of staying in a tourist-packed hotel district, you could live in a real neighborhood, get tips from your host on the best local coffee shop, and experience the city from the inside out. This was a game changer. The core of Airbnb's disruption wasn't just about price, although that was a huge factor. It was about experience. Let's talk about the 3 key pillars that allowed Airbnb to shake up the hospitality industry: variety, affordability, and flexibility. First, variety. Hotels offer rooms. Airbnb offers, well, almost anything. A cozy apartment in the heart of Paris, a stunning beach house in Bali, a quirky treehouse in Costa Rica, a castle in Scotland, or even an igloo in Finland. Suddenly, the accommodation itself became part of the adventure. Instead of a cookie-cutter room, you could choose a space that reflected your personality and travel style. The platform unlocked millions of unique properties that were previously inaccessible to travelers. This sheer variety was something the traditional hotel industry simply couldn't compete with. Next up, affordability. By cutting out the middleman and the massive overhead costs of running a hotel, like staff, maintenance, and branding, Airbnb could offer stays at a fraction of the price. For budget-conscious travelers, especially millennials and Gen Z, this was a massive draw. You could travel for longer or visit more expensive cities because your accommodation costs were significantly lower. This didn't just appeal to backpackers. Families found they could rent an entire house with a kitchen for the price of a single hotel room, giving them more space and the ability to cook their own meals. And finally, flexibility. Airbnb empowered homeowners. It turned their spare rooms, empty apartments, and vacation homes into income-generating assets. This created a massive, decentralized inventory of available rooms all over the world, even in places where hotels were scarce. A homeowner could decide when to rent out their space, set their own prices, and create their own rules. This flexibility on the supply side meant that Airbnb could scale up its offerings incredibly quickly without having to build a single building. They didn't own any real estate, yet they became the biggest accommodation provider in the world. Of course, this journey wasn't without its challenges. The biggest hurdle was trust. How do you convince someone to stay in a stranger's home, or let a stranger stay in yours? This is where Airbnb's tech platform was brilliant. They built a robust system of user profiles, secure payments, and most importantly, a 2-way review system. After a stay, both the host and the guest would review each other. This created a community built on reputation and accountability. A host with great reviews was more likely to get bookings, and a guest with positive reviews was more likely to be accepted. This simple yet powerful mechanism built the trust necessary for the whole model to work. The hotel industry was slow to react. At first, they dismissed Airbnb as a niche platform for young people looking for a cheap couch to crash on. They didn't see it as a real threat, but as Airbnb grew, its impact became undeniable. Hotels started seeing lower occupancy rates, especially during major events when Airbnb could absorb a huge amount of demand. They were losing business not just from budget travelers, but from business travelers and families who preferred the space and amenities of an Airbnb. The lesson from Airbnb's story is powerful. Disruption doesn't always come from inventing something entirely new from scratch. Sometimes it comes from reimagining an existing industry and solving its problems in a creative way. Airbnb didn't invent accommodation. It simply used technology to connect people in a new way, unlocking a hidden supply of spaces and a huge demand for more authentic, affordable travel. They saw the gaps in the traditional hotel model: impersonal experiences, high prices, and lack of variety, and they built a solution. They leveraged the power of the sharing economy, built a platform based on trust, and empowered everyday people to become micro-entrepreneurs. In doing so, they didn't just create a multi-billion-dollar company, they fundamentally changed how we think about travel, home, and community. So, the next time you're booking a trip, think about the options you have. The fact that you can choose between a hotel, a home, a treehouse, or a boat is, in large part, thanks to the disruptive vision of those two guys with a few air mattresses. It's a reminder that sometimes the most revolutionary ideas are the ones that are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone to look at an old problem with fresh eyes. What do you think? Have you used Airbnb? What was your experience like? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into business disruption, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.